The UCP government in Alberta is proposing new auto insurance regulations that could be devastating for motorcycle owners in the province. All vehicle owners need to be concerned. But it is certainly motorcycle riders who are most at risk of unfair treatment and compensation as a result of an accident. Motorcycle owners are also likely to see unreasonable increases in their insurance costs. Bruce sits down with Steve Grover and Patrick Lambie to discuss the proposed changes and raise awareness in the community. Subscribe to Speed and Color and leave us your question or opinion in the comments. We hope you find the show informative.
Well, welcome for another episode of Speed and Color. And a little bit different episode here this evening, we're recording in the evening. Not so much about custom motorcycles, but about motorcycles in general. The Alberta government has a plan to change the policies around insurance, automotive insurance, which I take it covers motorcycles. We'll talk more about that. But it's a concern for everybody in the motorcycle community, and there's lots of different aspects to it. So we're going to talk this evening about those different aspects. And I have with me a couple experts. Steve Grover.
Hi, Bruce, how are you?
The owner. Hey, what do they call you? Are you like the principal partner, or how does that work?
Receptionist. Legal assistant / lawyer. Maybe call me paralawyers. Like, Danny DeVito, Rainmaker. Remember that? I don't know if you remember that movie.
Yeah.
He never passed the bar. He tried 7 times in Tennessee. They called him a paralawyer. So maybe I'm a paralawyer.
So Steve Grover at Grover Law, and Steve, I guess, is a personal injury lawyer who specializes in motorcycles, or motorcycle accidents. And I'll let him explain more, and hopefully he can clear a lot of this up for us. And as well, we have Mr. Patrick Lambie, who you've seen on Speed and Color before. And Patrick is back with us, and of course, his close ties through Hard Knocks Racing School and Inside Motorcycles and all that stuff. He's pretty well versed on motorcycles and this insurance issue and what similar programs in other provinces have done. So to get started, I understand that I would imagine for a lot of Americans, some of these new policies and stuff will seem just crazy, and you'll wonder how a government could ever put them in place. I'm wondering how they're getting away with doing this too, but we do have to deal with it here. There are several other Canadian provinces that have similar rules that have even gone further than what the Alberta government is doing. But it is concerning. It's going to most likely going to drive rates up. And it's quite restrictive in terms of what happens in an accident. So I think probably the best place to start is, I'm not really an expert on this stuff. Do you have a good idea, Steve, of what the changes are in a nutshell?
Yeah, obviously I'm in the industry, and I came out of law school in '98, and tort reform has always been an issue across the board in Canada and America. And, we went through the cap in 2003 where they sort of capped whiplash injuries at $4,000. And then, case law evolved where you could, litigate those cases and get people money over above the cap. But just recently, in November, Daniel Smith and I believe Finance Minister Horner made their decision that, they made their announcement that they're going to go to a no-fault system.
Right.
Which essentially says, if you're riding your motorcycle or driving your car, and someone T-bones you and you say you're paralyzed or you lose a leg, or even if you have a bad whiplash injury, you can't sue the tortfeasor, the person who caused the accident, which goes against sort of like tort law that you learn in law school. Is if someone does a wrongful act against you, the law should put you in the same position as you before the accident. It's sort of, there's no access to justice anymore. And essentially it's going to be 2 years and a month until it comes into place January 1st, 2027. And there's a lot of issues going on. I've done a couple talks on this issue, and the biggest issue I see is, insurance companies, obviously, they say they never make money on auto. It's one aspect of your life where legally you have to buy insurance. If you don't buy insurance for your motorcycle or your truck or your car, you can get ticketed and by the police, and then obviously your rates go through the roof after that. Another problem I see in Alberta is we're surrounded by provinces that have no fault, like Saskatchewan, Manitoba. Unfortunately, BC went to no fault in May of 2021 with ICBC. And, unfortunately, you always, when I look at business, you look 5-10 years down the road, and I always expected this day sort of to come in Alberta. And it's not a good day. The question is, you're more subject to having catastrophic injuries if you're on a motorcycle than a car.
Yeah.
Obviously, if someone T-bones you and hits your leg, there's no protection to protect you like a house, like a car. Sorry. So it's going to be interesting how this is going to be written. I heard that the bill is going to hit the legislature in spring of 2025, and essentially is closing off access to justice for injured people in motorcycle accidents, trucking accidents, car accidents, stuff like that. Okay?
Right. And, the no fault thing, I was given that some thought. And it seems to me that no fault to some people means it's not my fault. And it seems to me we're taking away, call it an incentive to pay attention, not just to motorcycles, but to other drivers. But in the case of a motorcycle being so vulnerable, with no fault insurance, so a guy rolls a stop sign now and you're behind his A-pillar on the highway and he turns out in front of you and, down goes the motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, that's too bad. I'm not at fault.
Yeah.
It seems to let bad drivers off the hook. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're responsible for your mistakes in this world.
Well, I think the big word in general in society is that my parents taught me at a young age, the A word. You have to be accountable for your actions.
Yes.
And it seems, like most people don't want to be accountable for their actions. There has been the threat from the insurance companies in Alberta, we're not making money. If it doesn't work out, we're going to leave. It's like, okay, my theory is, I was born and raised in Alberta. You're going to make money in this province no matter what. I've lived in the U.S. I'm licensed as a lawyer in the Maritimes. I've been to Toronto, Quebec, and lived in BC in high school. And I think this is the best jurisdiction in North America to live. We've got practically no sales tax other than GST. Our property taxes are kind of decent. We have the lowest corporate tax rate in North America. I try and go and do business in California or New York and or Quebec. And, in the day, the population keeps on growing tremendously in Alberta. And I've read statistics and perspectives where Alberta will eventually pass Quebec as the second populous province in Canada. So, maybe the insurance companies look at that and say, we've got no fault in BC. Well, that was public insurance. But interesting, this is going to be the first private insurance jurisdiction to go no fault. Because BC has ICBC, which is insurance, public insurance, SGI, obviously Saskatchewan government insurance is public insurance, and Manitoba is MPI, Manitoba Public Insurance. And Quebec's got this hybrid private public insurance program, so it's going to be interesting how this is going to work out. Obviously, they're going to have to change their whole computer systems and programs to what's going to be done, but I think the government has handed over to insurance companies with Insurance Bureau of Canada to, write the regulations of what's going to be covered. And it looks like it's almost going to be like a WCB claim. Like you go to your insurance company, there's sort of a chart of what they're going to pay you. Mm-hmm. And then they have this first care model where we're going to pay for treatment, called Section B benefits here. in Alberta currently, and it's just going to be very interesting what happens, because essentially looks like the government's telling IBC and insurance companies, come back and tell us what you want and we'll implement it, which is kind of odd to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wanna make a comment on first care, or care first is what they call it.
Yeah.
But Patrick, I know you were doing some research the other day and getting yourself up to speed on all the rules. What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the part that Steve was just touching on is the part about the cap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, and Steve, you deal with this probably every day, but I don't think any two injuries are the same.
No.
And so to suddenly go like, oh, there's a formula, you know, I just don't see how you can implement that. And, you know, it doesn't in a lot of ways make sense. Like the no fault thing. And when you travel, I mean, you go to Hawaii, it's a no fault state. You know,
you can still sue there. I know lawyers in Honolulu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they still take cases on. I mean, most jurisdictions in the U.S. do not have a pure no-fault system where you can't sue. There's kind of a hybrid.
Okay.
Like Michigan's got a hybrid. New Jersey's got a hybrid. I mean, you know, there's like caps on how much money you can get for pain and suffering in Texas for medical malpractice. That's a different area of practice law. But, you know, my understanding is there's no, like, the biggest problem in the U.S. is limits issues.
Okay.
Like you go to Oregon and you get hit by somebody, and you know, you all know, you know, there's a client, Jim Powers. He had a big accident in Oregon. Well, you know, the limits in Oregon are $30,000. That's it.
Wow.
So luckily he had some, you know, insurance coverage through his own motorcycle insurance. So we litigated the case back here in Alberta. But you know, the big issue in the U.S. is there's limits. Like a lot of people don't have insurance in the U.S. I mean, give you an example. Governor DeSantis just recently legislated that you don't have to buy auto insurance in the state of Florida. Well, you know what? Good luck. You get hit by someone with no insurance, and on top of that, they have the Homestead Act in Florida, where you get up to an acre to protect yourself from a judgment or bankruptcy. Well, good luck trying to collect that, you know, kind of judgment. You can get a judgment, but if the person's working in an Alberta making $15 an hour, the lawyer going to go after that person and collect $1 a month for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of interesting. So you can still sue in majority of the jurisdictions in the U.S. And when I talk to my, you know, friends and, you know, companions in the U.S., it blows their mind. Like in Saskatchewan, you can't sue, you know, or BC, you know.
Okay, so in those two provinces, you can't sue?
Well, BC has no fault since May of 2021 where you can't sue, okay? And then Part 7 benefits comes in, and they got this, like, care program. Like, I don't know how it really works. I mean,
now, I had heard that in Alberta, you would be able to sue if there was a conviction of a criminal offense.
Dangerous driving or under the influence.
Yeah, but I've been on several files where defendant, you know, was charged with, you know, manslaughter or was impaired. Well, you know, all of a sudden this high-profile criminal lawyer comes out of nowhere, defends the defendant, and, you know, gets dismissed or a minor charge or something like that. You know, the insurance companies are going to hire good criminal lawyers to defend their insured, to not open that Pandora box. And I don't really think it's worked out in BC. BC has the same thing, and for 3.5 years, it hasn't really. It's just some kind of, you know, well, we'll give you something in return. But, you know, at the end of the day, obviously, you know, if you're charged with some kind of manslaughter or, DUI, you know, you're going to hire a good criminal lawyer to plead it down and see what happens from there.
Right.
Yeah.
But traffic violations would not meet that criteria.
No, my understanding it has to be like a major criminal offense, DUI, involuntary manslaughter, stuff like that. I don't think it can be like unsafe lane change or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, the system's so busy now. You fight the tickets. I fight I get a ticket, and you have a right to fight the tickets in the Alberta Court of Justice in Alberta, and sometimes the tickets get thrown out or they reduce it to like zero demerits and a lesser charge.
Right.
Yeah.
So just in these other provinces that have already adopted no fault,
Yeah.
what's happened to premiums? Because like when the province rolled this out, they're saying that, I forget the number they said, it's like people's premium should go down by on average $400 annually, and
Yeah, well, there's a lot of statistics on it, but the main thing is this: is the average Canadian, I know it's really hard to make a living in general. I mean, 75% of the world lives in poverty and doesn't have food. I mean, and I understand as a Canadian, like a lot of families are struggling day to day just to get through. And $400 doesn't seem like a lot to you and me or a doctor, but that may be a lot of cash for a young family starting out. I mean, and so the one thing that people need to understand is, like, if you're going to give someone the savings, people are going to say, okay, it's $400. Okay, I can use that for ballet classes or buy food for the house, get steak or chicken for the week. And then, but they don't really think it's never going to happen to me about being in an accident, catastrophically injured. Does it make sense?
Right.
So, I'm not, like, I understand, like, the common person, that's a lot of money, and I appreciate that. And, I think the message has been, the public has to understand, like, it can't happen to me, but then in the day it can happen to anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, to me, of course, there's no reference to motorcycles anywhere in the stuff that I've read. So I'm going to guess that the 7.5% cap on the insurance rate increase applies to cars and to
I
motorcycles.
assume it applies to everything.
Yeah.
But so what has happened in 2025, 2026, the insurance companies can raise the rates on good drivers by 7.5% per year. And then in 2027, when there's, just out of coincidence, there is a provincial election, they say, okay, we're rolling out no fault, and here's your $400 in savings. So it seems like when you actually do the math,
it's going to be a wash.
it's a push.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
7.5% compounded over 2 years, and then you get $400 off. Well, you're right back where you started, probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of issues going on. I mean, people are complaining the cost of living is increasing, and I can understand that. I mean, inflation has gone through the roof since COVID, and, you got to look at, like, the fact of Canadians, I think we live in the best country in the world, but it's still hard. A lot of people want to keep up with the Joneses and all that stuff. I don't believe in that. I think you need to live your life, and at the same time, I mean, it's always a struggle to just raise a kid and pay your mortgage, and it's life in general. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I believe probably the majority of Canadians live paycheck to paycheck.
Yes, for sure. But I think one of the things that makes Canada so great to live in is that we can get together and talk about the UCP's crazy ideas around insurance and voice our opinion, and maybe even get heard. Who knows?
Yeah, right? But it's going to take, like, a lot. I live in the U.S. and I live in Canada, and I was thinking about this, this podcast on the way to work today, and Americans are entrenched in the Constitution since they're born. You used to have to swear an oath to the Constitution in grade 1 and every morning, and they have the hoopla of the Super Bowl, where you have to sing the national anthem, and they always, you watch a football game, NFL, the U.S. Marines are recruiting people, Hollywood, it's entrenched in there about your legal rights. You learn about the U.S. Constitution, Benjamin Franklin and George Washington. It's not really entrenched here in Canada at all because we're such a young country.
Right.
And, I think if there's going to be an uproar about legal rights, it's more likely going to happen in the U.S. and Canada. Canadians are very nice people, they're very passive, and, I think everybody tries to live day to day, and why that's such a good lifestyle in this country. But people in America tend to know their legal rights more, and I just think you're an American, and you learn to swear an oath to the Constitution every morning in grade 1, and learn about, the revolution, the Civil War, and all that stuff. Yeah.
So when I was reading about it, one of the things the province talked about was litigation.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of hold it out that litigation, in their words, and I can't remember which member of the government was saying this, but litigation is slowing down the final settlement and holding up people actually receiving the care that they require, kind of thing. So I was curious because that's what you do every day. So I was wondering what your thoughts were.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if there's a problem, always blame the lawyers. And of course, insurance companies, there's a lot of factors that go on. We all know about hail damage and hurricanes and the fires up in Fort Mac. That's cost them a lot of money. It's kind of like a touchy-feely situation. Like, you want to blame the lawyers, but, sometimes, my dad was a doctor and they didn't really care for lawyers, but, if that doctor got sued, the best friend would be the lawyer. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, they look, but we've grown as a population since I was born. When I was born, 250,000 people lived in Calgary. We're 1.6 million now, keep on growing. Obviously, there's going to be more litigious people, people suing. Courts are going to be backed up. And, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if someone's, if you and I enter the contract and I borrowed 10 grand from you, and then I said, you know what, Bruce, I'm not paying you back. Would you sue me? Probably.
Well, I think it takes some kind of action.
So at the same time, if someone T-bones you and blows your knee out, wouldn't you like to be compensated for your injuries?
Absolutely.
And any future losses? So it's the same kind of thing. We have a legal right to sue in Canada. We have the British common law system here in Canada, in Alberta, and you have, if you want to take that right to sue, you should have that option to sue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, I think really the government, and I'm surprised at this government taking the easy path out. You can control costs, you can set amounts, you can, avoid litigation, you can do all these things to control the costs, but to me, you're working at the wrong end of the problem. You're trying to do something on the result of the problem rather than fix the problem, and the problem is bad drivers.
Yeah,
and
but,
if Danielle had come out and said, you know what, we are going to have the best drivers in the world, and here's how we're going to do it. You are at fault for a collision. You have just earned the right to take a 40-hour course that will only cost you $1,200.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it done in 3 months, you won't have a license.
Yeah.
And if you get caught going 40 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, you just earned the right to take a course at your own cost. There has to be some punitive measures, some inspiration for people to improve their driving. Not to mention, we all know there's a lot of people getting licenses who should not be licensed out there.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we already have tickets like, you can't use your cell phone, operate a vehicle. How many times have you been going down Crowchild?
It's terrible, yeah.
I mean, it's human error. And then the problem is if you're going to make someone take a $1,200 course, then there's going to be a problem. It's going to be all over it.
Well, you're going to make some money, or?
No, but, you're forcing me to spend $1,200. Yep. And, we had this issue about taking driver's licenses away on impaired driving and all that stuff. I don't think there is a quick solution to the problem.
Well, we force you to have insurance.
Yeah.
So why can't we force you to take a course?
Well, it's going to challenge that on the constitutional basis, and it could go all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada.
I hear what you're saying, that there's no fast solution.
No.
Other than what the government is doing. That's a fairly quick solution.
Yeah.
A good solution may not be fast.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me that if we improved the quality, the behavior of drivers, if we had really good drivers in the province, then insurance companies would want to do business here because the risks and the payouts are so low. This would be a great place to insure people and make money. Like I said,
why don't my issue with that is why don't auto insurance companies want to do business in Alberta? This is like the best province in Canada to live in.
Apparently they left last year.
Well, some of them did, like one left, but there's an issue on that. But at the end of the day, it's like, I believe when a restaurant wants to come to Canada, where they try a restaurant, they put the shop first is in Edmonton. I mean, it's a testing ground for, remember Kenny Rogers chicken? It really didn't work out.
Edmonton has a ton of restaurants.
Yeah, but that is a test ground for Canada to see if a restaurant works for the rest of Canada. But in the
Things I learned today.
There you go.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, the one thing is you got to see is Alberta's here. We have a right to sue. BC is no fault. Saskatchewan is no fault. Manitoba is no fault. We're the lone wolf in the prairies.
So you're telling me that not only do we need to fix our problem, but we have 3 more to fix.
No. I think the problem is we're surrounded by no fault jurisdictions. What's the next step for Daniel to do? Maybe go no fault too. I mean, do they want to bring a plethora of lawyers coming to Calgary and Edmonton from Toronto and Vancouver, open offices here? That's another issue. I mean, there are some Ontario law firms that have moved here. Mm-hmm. There's some lawyers I know from Vancouver that moved to Calgary and Edmonton since no fault got passed. I think there's more to the issue than just, blaming lawyers. And, if everyone's like eating pasta, maybe I should eat pasta too. You know what I'm saying?
So what happens, I'm just curious, so Bruce lives in Saskatchewan, I live in Alberta, Bruce and I get in an accident.
In Lloydminster.
Is it based on where the accident happened?
It's a law. Yeah, it matters where, if the accident happened in Manitoba and you're an Alberta resident, it's the jurisdiction where the fault occurred, so you can't sue in Winnipeg.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're in, say, I don't know if you go out to BC and you're going through Kelowna and you get, T-bone on your motorcycle by some guy in Kelowna, you can't sue there. It's the jurisdiction where the accident occurs that you have to sue it.
Really?
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, you have to. There has to be a line somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the second thing I learned today.
Yeah.
Edmonton is a testing ground for.
Isn't it great being on Speed and Color? It's just an education, huh? I was going to mention about the Care First model too. Part of the issue that I have with that, and I don't know, maybe. Steve, you're not encouraging me to think that we can actually make much of a difference here, but we'll see what happens. But one difference that could be made is the problem with First Care is you get to use your employment benefits first, and then Care First kicks in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I have benefits through my employer.
Yeah, like Sunlight or something.
Maybe I have carpal tunnel, or maybe I have arthritis or something that I'm doing physio and massage to deal with and stuff. Well, now Joe Blow rolls that stop sign, takes me out. Well, now those benefits go to pay for his mistake. And once we exhaust my benefits, then the government benefits kick in. But now, until my benefits reset and I get some back,
till the next year or something.
I can't do any of those things. And I got to tell you, that one really rubs me the wrong way, because what I work for is mine. That should be mine. I work for that compensation package. I earn that, and that should be spent on me. Now, if I'm the guy who rolls the stop sign and gets injured, absolutely use my benefits to get me better, because that was my fault. But when somebody else does it to me, they shouldn't get to touch my paycheck. They shouldn't get to touch my benefits. That stuff is mine. And I think care first should truly be first.
Well, yeah, and I haven't read I just heard the word care first. I know there's billboards in Calgary and so the radio stations about how you can access the care. We'll see what happens with these Section B benefits, what they're going to roll out in like 2027. I think the big thing is the bill is going to be on the legislative floor in the spring of 2025. So, at the end of the day, it's up to people now to contact their MLAs and meet with them and voice their concerns. At the end of the day, politicians have to hear from the normal person. And, if people want an access to justice, then, they should make an effort to contact their MLA and have a meeting with him or her.
So interesting how that worked out. I took your advice and did exactly that.
Yeah.
Well, my MLA is NDP, who can really do nothing.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, I kind of thought we'd have to deal with this once we had an NDP government. I'm surprised the UCP came up with this crap, but anyway. So my MLA is NDP. And he's pretty much admitted that Danielle has a majority and they're going to do what they want to do. And he can't do anything about it until they get into government at some point, which may be sooner than some people think. You never know. Yeah, this is the compensation levels and the proposal and stuff there. And yeah.
And I'm assuming a lot of this is going to, like Steve says, it's going to hit the legislature in several months from now.
Yeah.
This is going to evolve between now and then, so hopefully if people are able to, through whichever MLA, get some feedback in there, maybe it'll, maybe common sense on some. I mean, it doesn't sound like no fault is an option. It seems like it's going that way.
Yeah, I think we might be stuck with that. Although we'll voice our opinion.
At the end of the day, you do live in a democracy, and if anyone has a concern, I've met with my MLA several times, and if you want to make a change, go talk to your MLA. If you want to make a change, make your voice heard. I mean, maybe there should be a petition being circulated.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. I mean, you're a lawyer guy.
Why don't you start one?
Well, but
I think as a lawyer,
maybe you could give me some pointers and help us get going the right way here.
Yeah, but I mean, there's the bike show coming up in end of January, February 2025. Maybe voice concerns about that. Motorcyclists are going to be affected. Like I said, you're going to take the brunt of an impact on your bike rather than being a car or a truck.
Right.
I mean, you can still make change if the voice is loud. If the voice is loud enough, obviously, MLAs will listen to it.
Well, I think step one is raising the awareness, right? Getting the motorcycle community to understand what is really being proposed here and what it'll mean.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something we can do at the motorcycle show and other things. So we can discuss how we go about putting that together and see what groups and clubs might want to get involved in having a voice go in that direction.
Well, I mean, you can just take the examples in the last 3.5 years of, accidents that have happened in BC where people can't sue now. There's been cyclists hit, they're paralyzed, there's a family, a driver went into a wedding party, killed a couple people, there's no compensation there, and say to people in Alberta, this is the, what's going to happen. The question is, it's the cost savings, but you have to look at the fact, okay, you're going to give me $400, in a reduction in my insurance. Well, that's $30 a month. Is that worth losing your leg? That's a question you have to ask people. If I gave you $400 now for the rest of your life, for say another 20 years, would you be willing to lose your left leg? No,
Right.
I've got a question for you, Art. Will you be willing?
Would I?
Yeah.
Well, no, of course
And
not.
have no access to compensation?
Yeah, no, of course.
Would you?
Of course not.
No.
Yeah.
So you probably spend more money in coffee per month. You know,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day,
I don't
it's a
know about
cost
that.
savings effective that it's going to be. It is going to be an election issue in 2027. Daniel Smith's in power, and Nemchi's taking the leadership role of NDP, and no matter if people like him or hate him or have no opinion of him, he is quite popular.
Right.
He was mayor here three terms or so in a row.
Yes.
And then he left, and he should be a concern for the UCP going forward in 2 years or 2.5 years. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens, and plus, we've had an influx of people moving here from other jurisdictions with more of a liberal idea of politics. Maybe they'll vote NDP.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Patrick, you had made a comment to me the other day, and I wanted to follow up on it. What do you think this does to the motorcycle industry long term?
Well, I think insurance has always been one of the biggest challenges. Like if you live in, say, Ontario, and you want to buy a sport bike, you want to buy a leader bike, you want to buy a super bike or whatever. If you're under the age of 30, your insurance premiums are already crazy high.
Right.
So it's hard to imagine that the insurance companies are not making money. It really is. And I mean, the insurance companies are by far and away the biggest, call it, lobby group in the country. I mean, what are the things you don't pay GST on in Canada? Insurance premiums. I mean, they have so much sway. They can just go, we don't like it, we're leaving your province. And the leader of the province, rather than actually taking the time to say, okay, let's figure this out, says, okay, we'll do what you want. But I think the end result, I mean, it's great to say, and we talked about before, oh, your insurance is going to go down $400. But to help the insurance companies get ready for all this stuff, we're going to let them start, I think right now the cap is 3.25% or something.
Yes, it was for this year.
Yeah, now it's very contrary to, so I think it's going to have on the industry itself, and I hope I'm wrong, but I kind of see premiums going up ultimately. And for motorcyclists, especially, it's an industry, as you know, that needs new riders in order to continue to grow. So you got young people who are already, like a clutch is a foreign thing to them. So you already got that to get over. Now you add in the fact that insurance is going to get, it already is in some jurisdictions crazy expensive.
Yeah.
I think it's going to have a detrimental impact on just the ability of companies to move product.
Right. And I think Saskatchewan is I'm aware of Saskatchewan because I do business there. I think it's a perfect example where, you know what, if you want to ride a motorcycle 500 cc's or more, you really need to be a wealthy individual. The insurance rates are crazy.
Yeah.
And I would say, and I don't have any numbers to back it up, but I would say that sales of bikes over 500 cc's have gone down considerably since that insurance, since those regulations came into effect. And Saskatchewan Government Insurance, SGI, correct? Since they started setting the rates. And you talk to most motorcyclists in Saskatchewan, and their belief is the government doesn't want any motorcycles on the road. And they're just trying to price it out of reality.
Why do they don't want motorcyclists on the road?
Well, I guess they cost a lot of money in healthcare and everything else when they get knocked down with no fault insurance. They are costly, and motorcycles don't seem to have a lot of friends in politics. I think the industry is, I would bet that the industry is way bigger than most UCP members realize. And, you have motorcycle tourism. We have some of the most beautiful rides and stuff in Alberta. Kananaskis Highway 40, Icefields Highway, it goes on and on. We got some beautiful stuff. What happens to motorcycle tourism? And at this time when we're looking for fuel efficiency and all those things, motorcycles are much more fuel efficient. You would think, if anything, that we'd be finding ways to encourage people to use their motorcycles in Alberta. And instead, this looks to me like, over several years, a way to discourage people from riding in Alberta.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you already have, an issue of people riding, bikes are going up, helmets are expensive, gloves are expensive, insurance, registration. So it is an expensive sport to get involved in,
True.
Yeah.
Rather than just buying a soccer ball and sending your kid out to the field. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Yeah.
Yes, compared to soccer, yes.
Yeah.
But cars are expensive too.
Yeah,
And
but everyone needs a
people
car
have to get around.
Yeah.
Transportation is a good thing.
Yeah.
Steve, you mentioned Alberta would be the only, of the provinces that have gone no fault, it would be the only one that has a private, like all the other ones are government.
Like BC, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba is like, public insurance. So this will be the first private insurance jurisdiction that has pure no fault. You can't sue at all. So we'll see, how it works out in the long run.
Yeah.
It's going to cost insurance companies more to run the system than the current system. And, it'll just be interesting it's not being implemented for quite some time, like 2 years and a month. That's a long time. The bill has to hit the legislature spring, so we'll see what the bill looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess if you got concerns, voice your concerns, stand up and let your voice be heard, and meet your MLA, and maybe some groups can come together and let the public know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, and it doesn't really spell it out here, and maybe I'm just not a real smart guy, but these numbers for Care First, where does that money come from? Does that come from the insurance companies, or does that come from essentially Alberta Healthcare?
No, this is probably all they have Section B system where your insurance company will pay for medical cover. So I figure it's a Care First system set up with the insurance company.
Okay, so it is.
You access it through your insurance company, like Section B. If you're in a car accident now or a motorcycle accident, and you need treatment, you contact your insurance company. You have a Section B policy that pays for medical and disability for 2 years. And so I assume the first care system would be paid through the auto insurance or motorcycle insurance. It's part of your policy.
Yeah, I kind of wondered, because of course this could represent more government spending and a break for the insurance companies if it went a different way. But if that's the case, if the insurance companies are having to pay it, then okay, it's controlling the cost, it's leveling it out, but they are still paying for
that treatment. But the question is are they going to, approve your treatment? Or are you going to deny your treatment? Or are you going to fight?
Well, that's the other thing is it says somewhere here that the Care First will be continued as long as there is when maximum medical recovery is achieved is when it comes off, and no maximum or time limit for treatment that provides a measurable benefit.
Yeah.
So what is a measurable benefit and who's measuring that? And so we might involve less lawyers, but we might involve a lot more doctors too.
Well, at the end of the day, it's like, it's all. This is just what they put on the website. It's going to see like no treatment, no maximum time limit for treatment that provides a measurable benefit, and ancillary supports for the rest of your life. Like so, right now you have 50 grand, so that's telling me that when they get paid out $1 million under first care, I doubt it. I mean, you know, they're going to lose more money doing that than under the current system.
You would think.
Because right now you're capped at 50 grand for treatment for 2 years, and then this one says no maximum time limit for treatment. You know, and so we'll see. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we got to see what this all comes out to. You know, it's just a big announcement, and we'll have to see what happens. But if people are uproar about no fault and they want the right to sue and they want to have justice and they want to be put in the same position as they were before the accident. I mean, you got to move now. You know, maybe we should have moved back in 21. You know, educating the public about this.
Right.
But I think time is of the essence now because before you know it, 2 years is going to come and go, and it's already going to be 2028. And you're going to have a system in place.
Yep.
So you know, time is of the essence if someone's going to do something about it. It's always good to talk about it. You know, if you have a vision, but you know, you also need those people to implement your vision.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll talk to any successful businessman, you know, be it Elon Musk or, you know, Jeff Bezos. You have a vision. He had a vision to Amazon, but he needed the people to implement the vision.
Right.
So you gentlemen have the vision. So the next question is,
He brought you into this.
Yeah, how did I end up on
at the end of the day, you're bringing me in this podcast, and I think it's best that non-lawyers make this implementation because they're going to say, well, Steve, your job's affected. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You know, there's 1,000 areas of practice law in it. You know what I'm saying? My sister in Banff, she doesn't do personal injury at all. She's been successful.
Yeah.
But the question is it should be independent. It should be coming from the public, and you know, you've got to implement the talk. Like you know, you got to talk the talk. Well, now you got to walk the talk, like my dad used to say. So it's up to what's going to happen. If people are going to talk about it, or they're going to let their voice be heard in the next year or 2 years down the road.
Right. Well, hopefully, if we raise awareness and talk to the right people, and maybe we can get some groups involved that claim to be about safety and bettering the sport for all of us, call it a sport, hobby, whatever. But we can probably lean on some legal people for a little bit of support.
Well, I think the thing that has to come down to is the public understanding, there's a cost savings, but at the end of the day, like I said, are you willing to be paralyzed for the rest of your life? Is this first care system going to work? Are they going to give you the compensation you're entitled to? That's the question.
Can we use your photocopier?
No, I don't know. We'll talk about it separately. No, but at the end of the day, like you can talk all this talk, but it's the general public. Like honestly, like you know, the common person looks at there's not the general Albertan says like you're going to save me $500 a year in insurance. Insurance is going crazy. The next 2 years, my rates are going up 7.5%. This is going to be an election issue, and we're going to roll out no fault. So the question is the people, are they concerned about the legal rights, or are they just they want the money, the savings? And I can understand people want the savings because it is expensive to live. Mm-hmm. We all know that. You go to pump your tank full of gas, gas prices are going up. I go to Shell now because I get the reduction with the AMA card and stuff like that. And I mean, it's just hard to live now, and it's never been easy to live in general. Doesn't matter what century it's in. No.
But I think we're all more aware now than we have been for a long time.
Of what costs?
Inflation.
Yeah.
We're all much more aware of prices going up, and we monitor it more, and we're careful, and we buy things where it benefits us.
Yeah, a lot of people live off their credit cards, and credit card usage has gone through the roof in the last 10 years. So it's going to come down to what does the general public want? What can the motorcycle community do here in Alberta? Make awareness and make their voice be heard.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I Patrick, anything else from you?
No, I thought that was great. I learned so much.
You learned a bunch of stuff. I am going to use my voice to raise awareness as much as I can, and where we go with action, I don't know, but certainly we'll reach out to people in the motorcycle community, clubs and groups, and Speed and Color. I'm hoping that a whole bunch of motorcyclists in Alberta watch this and learn a little bit, and we'll field questions. So I'll give the pitch. Subscribe to Speed and Color. Ring the little bell. Give us a thumbs up, and absolutely shoot us a comment. Tell us what you think. Tell us if you want to help out. Tell us if you want to get involved. Let us know if you've talked to your MLA, all that kind of stuff. Gentlemen, anything else in closing?
No, thank you very much.
You're all good?
I wish everybody happy holidays and all the best in 2025, and we'll see where this is going.
Merry Christmas, you guys,
Yeah.
and thank you for being with us, and to all of you. Well, I don't know when this is gonna hit, so maybe I should say I hope you had a great Christmas and enjoy what's left of the holiday season, and Happy New Year.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.